I'm a melody-driven composer. I suppose the obvious example is Beethoven's Fifth, when you think of what he does with that opening movement. Now that's the job, to come up with a strong motif or a melody, for as far as I'm concerned, and then know about the technique of air variation. Taking a theme and developing that. Whether you're turning it up in retrograde or no matter what you're doing to it, you've got to be able to, it's relative minor. I mean, all these obvious things are sometimes all that's required. But, I remember this Pixar movie I'm working on, I wrote this theme, and then before I presented the actual melody to the director, I still didn't have a Gallic singer in place that I liked. But it was a cart before the horse, but I had two cues to write, so I wrote these two cues based on this melody, which the director hadn't heard yet. And you love these two cues, and when he heard the melody, he said, he's very smart, that melody, those two cues are based on that melody. He goes, that's a flanky one, Patrick. That's mid left field. I mean, that wasn't my intention. He goes, yeah, it was. He goes, I love it. So he loved this theme, but you see, that's come from that. Very astutely, he spotted it right away. So, yes, you have to. I mean, for example, on Thor recently, the score for Thor, I will do this really probably in every movie. I will come up with sometimes a little sweet. I remember on Planet of the Apes, for example, Planet of the Apes. It's Frankensteinian. It's about man's interfering with evolution. It's about revolution. It's about intrigue. It's about investigation. It's about science. And I remember the main theme is that way, da dee 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 ro ro dee ro 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 da ra ra dee ra ra dee ro dee dee da dee 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 ro ro. Sort of chromatic and mysterious, but from that I actually wrote the theme out, all the sections of it, and I played it to the director and the producers in the old-fashioned way, as you would do at the piano. I said, now, don't imagine the orchestra, it will sound like this. Then I took them to another part of the studio, and we played it, a mock-up, and I showed them different scenes with this piano theme. So I let them hear this piece as a rounded theme, then they heard it mocked up with orchestra, with different instruments and variations of it. So, although ultimately that changed again, I ended up writing the main theme at the spotting session. And I sang it over an existing cue that came from the same harmonic foundation, but I nevertheless had a different main theme for Caesar. So someone shoved it. That sounds great. I said, you like that? Well, yeah, just shove a knife one in my mouth. Then they sent it to my music editor. The wonders of modern technology. So, yes, you have to have a strong... And I remember that theme became an enormous big sort of Straussian horn sort of cry, I suppose, at the end of the movie. It's the last big brass sort of fanfare, as it were, that sends a picture of bum, beam, bum, orchestra, beam, ba, dum, brah, just at the end. So it's very often these simple motifs become, huge, strong effects. So yes, you have to have a strong, the way I work, a strong motif, a strong melody, then you develop it from that. I've never had a real problem with the timing of music for a scene. I've learned also that technical things like, if it's, 120 beats per minute, it's probably 118, because things are sort of faster when they're played by an orchestra. So you tend to sort of pull it back slightly. But generally speaking, that's the last thing I think about, is the tempo of a scene. It's thematically and dramatically what I'm going to deal with here. What is this character doing? She's angry, right? She's throwing this chair, but at the same time, it's got to have not just anger in it, it's got to have passion. It's got to have maybe emotion. It's like when I see these temp tracks, I'll say, look, that's only giving you one thing here. When the score is crafted, that's the beauty and uniqueness of a film score, is that it will give you, two elements, at least minimum two elements. They'll give a character who's saying one thing and thinking another, or they're not angry, they're passionate because they love the person, and they're angry, but in fact, what they're saying is, I think you're a but in fact, I love you to death, right? So this music's got anger in it, but passion, and that's what makes the audience, helps the audience to feel for that character. I remember in Into the West, Gabriel Byrne is screaming at the character, and I felt that the music behind him should be playing soft, gentle harp music that's saying to the audience, he may be screaming, but inside he's a softie, he's a heart of gold. Don't judge him too harshly. So that's the choice you make as a composer. You think, no, I think this character is too aggressive here. It's all too sort of, the performance is all very shouty. But if we bring in something here that's maybe more emotional, the audience won't see us, they won't get bored with that shoutiness. It's like, there's things you learn also as a performer. You never come out and go berserk in your first act. The audience is like, see it, that's it, I'm bored, I've got 2 hours of this. You come out and you let things out of your pocket slowly. It's the same in the music, in terms of the arc of a story. Bit by bit, you're letting your theme come out and develop along with the characters, and deciding the arc of the story, the narrative, is the trickiest thing for any screenwriter, and the same with the arc of the composer's score as well. It has to have an arc to it. It has to grow organically with the picture. You've got to know when you write that scene how it's going to relate to there. And even then, you won't really know until you see the whole thing run as a whole. You think, that's too big, bring that in. But that's why when people change things, you've got to be not too hung up about your music, because filmmakers see, good ones will see, this is too strong here, they're taking your cue from there. But because it's organically part of the whole, then you shouldn't get hung up about it. It's a process. It's a community. I always think now, what are the sound guys doing? And I like to hook up with them if I can very early. Guys, what's your plans here? Or you can tell what their plans are going to be. They're going to be something big there. Like sometimes you're asked as a composer, because of temp tracks, to write a lot of music, and you've got to say, look to the director, look, I'm not going to play that, because if that character in Apes is being pulled towards the window, at the moment it's going. Whereas when that is dubbed, it's going to be gum, like this. And then my music should then play afterwards. Maybe let him do his job. So we've got this wonderful timing. Frankenstein, the creation scene, the music was written in between all those thumps and hits and everything else. It's all written in between. I listened to the production track over and over again to the use of all those sounds. I had them marked in the score. Thump music, thump music. And it gave it this wonderful sense of grooviness. I used it, the wonderful timing of the dum 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 da da hum dum da 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 hum dum da bum dum bum dum da 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 gum dum da ba ba da dum bum da da. Each hit spurred on the sort of rock and rollness of that. So I asked the guys on Apes to give me all the sounds they had. They gave me the ape sounds, and one of the ape sounds, for example, goes oh, 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 ow, ow, ow. Right? Now I use that. It's a very simple motive figure. It became exact. It's a simple thing. That's a great monkey noise. It's the only one that's good. The rest are just screams. That's a great rhythm. Let me use that. So it's all over the film. It's everywhere. And there's things like, there's a kind of trombone or a brass figure. This sort of, It was like the growl. I thought that's just a simple growl of bass trombones. You know, it gives you a kind of, it gives you a wonderful kind of impetus to cut from scene or from shot to shot. It's a simple device, and once you use it in one cue, you can use it in subtle ways for other parts of it. So, in terms of making a decision as to when music comes in, look, if you're watching it, right? If you're watching it, you think, okay, if it's a long battle sequence, the battle starts, you go, yeah, okay, oh, it's interesting, okay, yeah, okay, and okay, it's a battle, right? I'm bored now. Boom, music comes in, oh yeah, wow, yeah. Suddenly, at that point, the attention span probably drops there. In comes this music going, doom, doom. Okay, now this is, oh, it's even more exciting. Yeah. No, it's the same battle, really, but it's more exciting. And then you've got a character who features there, something happens to that character, he or she is going to be thrown off a wall or whatever, you know. So that's got to come. So you've got to keep something in reserve. So you've planned your strategy in terms of the battle, what's important here in terms of the drama, what's key to the story, and what is superfluous, what is just filler or whatever, establishing what is kind of. So that can do without music, that's essential. I got in touch with the sound guys, Campbell Askew, and I listened to all these sounds and they tuned. And Gerard McCann, who was his assistant, very musical. He's a cousin of a very, very close friend of mine, coincidentally, a great singer. Very musical Gerard. He tuned all the sword clashes to the cue. I think they're in A. I think it's an A minor. I think it's an A minor. So he tuned all the sword clashes. So it tuned it. So Chuck on Apes gave us. Give us these wonderful cage crashes as the cages are closed. So he gave me some separate cage clashes, and the programmers I had worked it into a drum loop. So the cage clashes became part of the percussion palette for Apes. So we hear it crashing, these other scenes at the end. The audience are subliminally getting sounds of heard while they've been in captivity. So these are the things I asked of the sound guys, if I get in early enough to work with them. And then, of course, a lot of the sounds that we're using in Apes, they thought, get rid of all that stuff and let the orchestra do its work. Patrick's done that work. It's based on our sounds. So not only getting, and they're tuned, of course, to be in the keys. So working in conjunction with them was fascinating.